Toilet paper and paper towel are flying off the shelves, people are panicking, and chaos is starting in the streets. Countries are declaring states of emergency and travel bans, and social distancing is fully in effect, and sports leagues have been fully suspended until further notice. The central banks of the United States and Canada have lowered interest rates to stop the suffering. So what does this mean for you as an investor and for your portfolio? In this video, we're going to talk about the current crisis that is happening all around us right now and how it compares to the 2008 financial crisis that we saw. There was an article written by Wealthsimple's chief investment officer who isn't named in the article. We don't know who exactly it is, but of course, I believe this is a good article to make a video about because it'll give new investors or even experienced investors some great perspective as to see what someone who has a lot of experience in investments and also knowledge is currently thinking about the situation that we're in right now. The investment officer also compares what is happening currently with the crisis with the 2008 financial crisis that we saw in the past. Now, I will of course link this article down below for you to take a look at, but I'm also going to overlay parts of the article in the video for you to see quotes and stuff like that. Now, I myself am a brand new investor. I started investing in 2016, so I've never been through a crisis like this. I've never seen drawdowns this large, and I was only 15 years old when it happened in 2008, so I don't really remember the full effect it had on the world financially. The investment officer that compares what's going on right now, 2008, said that in 2008, the credit and banking system was actually threatening to collapse. So it was a true financial crash compared to the public health crisis that we're facing right now in the world. People are naturally going to go out and spend less money on goods and services because essentially everyone is being advised to stay at home, not do any sort of social gatherings, conferences are canceled, events are canceled. Like I mentioned, all sports leagues have been suspended. This of course means business is going to slow down really on all fronts. And of course, profits are going to start going down. Stocks will of course lose value, which they already have, as investors run to the exit doors to liquidate to cash. What's also interesting is that bonds also fell a little bit last week. Now, typically bonds are supposed to go in reverse of what stocks do, but last week bonds actually fell a little bit, which was a little surprising. Probably means that people were liquidating their bonds as well. So it was a liquidity crisis that also happened. The investment officer quotes in the article, "I try to be even keeled about this stuff. I haven't looked at my personal accounts for about a week." Now, I would assume the investment officer that wrote this article said this because probably have a substantial amount invested in the market. Now, the officer said that nobody knows exactly how much of a slowdown will occur and how long it will last. And that is why the fluctuations of the market have been so wild currently. Now, slowdowns have been happening across the board in terms of different sectors. So obviously airlines are down, cruise lines are down massively right now. So if you have been heavily invested in certain sectors, you might actually be down a lot more than the full market right now. This is also why Wealthsimple and even myself are huge advocates for index investing, because you'll be completely diversified among sectors. So whatever happens in this crisis, you know that you're fully diversified among countries, sectors, asset classes, lots of different things. I've also noticed personally myself here in Toronto, people are going out to bars and restaurants less. So small businesses could certainly suffer right now, at least in the short term, possibly long term. It honestly is truly sad right now. Social distancing is also starting to trend on social media, which means people are self-quarantining, staying inside a lot more, which means overall business activity will be down. But this makes sense because it's the best course of action for people to do right now is to just stay inside, avoid the spread of this virus. The investment officer also says in the article that their portfolios at Wealthsimple are also behaving according to their models and the performance is in line with the investor's risk profile and tolerance. The article also quotes that if your risk profile is wrong and you need the money very soon, that is obviously a problem. Now, I even mentioned this in my last video where I talk about your risk tolerance, your risk profile. You have to really look at your current situation right now and make sure that you are investing for the long run. You don't need that money short term because we don't really know what could happen here. Now, obviously, if you're young and you have lots of time in front of you, this could obviously sting a lot right now. And trust me, it stings me too, but please remember that investing is a long-term game. It's all about time in the market, not timing the market, not cashing out right now while people are flying to the exits. It's important to really think long-term. We could look back at this time 5 or 10 years in the future, and really it could just be a blip that happened in the past. Majority of people right now are panic selling. That's what's happening. People are rushing to get liquidity, to get cash. And if you are the minority, you're holding strong and you're continuing to buy into the market like a smart investor. I can also certainly guarantee that right now Warren Buffett is as cool as a cucumber right now. Even though he's probably down billions of dollars, we're talking billions, right? And while Jimmy, let's say a young investor that started last year, could be panic selling already because he's down maybe $1,000 or $500. In my opinion, this is a big test to people's risk, but also their mindset when it comes to investing. Now, we can obviously go into a lot of different avenues with this, with mindset, psychology, and I do want to make more videos on the future when it comes to how that relates to investing, because I honestly think there's a huge relationship between the way you think and being a good investor. And these things are playing a huge role with what's happening right now in the world. So I'm going to quote the article here. If you have a longer time horizon and you can handle it, holding on at times like these is important. Taking enough risk, holding over the long term, and keeping your costs low is an effective investment strategy. One thing to keep an eye on is to see how bad things get with the credit and banking system. Right now, you don't see extreme signs of stress in the system like we did in 2008. Financially, the best case scenario is that economic activity returns to normal in a relatively short time. Central banks like the US Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada are currently trying to restore liquidity to the market. That means that markets can perform their usual function of pricing financial assets and providing funding where it is needed. This is why the banks have lowered interest rates, and I believe the Bank of Canada right now is at 0.75%. Now, this is gonna sound a little bit crazy, but we could honestly see negative interest rates. Now, I'm not predicting this, I'm not saying this could happen, but if things get bad enough, negative interest rates could happen. And that's a completely different topic, a different video I can make on, but already happened in certain parts of Europe and Denmark. You can actually get a 10-year minus 0.5% mortgage on a house. So effectively what that means is if you borrow at that rate, it means that you will pay back less than you originally loaned out. Now, we're not gonna dive into that because that's something completely different, but I honestly would not be surprised if we saw negative rates, because if things get bad enough, they might have to keep lowering the interest rate and keep injecting money into the system. The officer is also asked a question, getting a little more personal. You're an insider, a guy who understands how all this works. What are you doing with your money? It's almost like they're waiting to hear that this investment officer is fully cashing out and buying oil or something like that because it's cheap. And I can almost guarantee that the officer is not doing this. So this is what the person said. I'm staying the course and not selling anything. I will deposit monthly savings like usual. Smart man or woman, depending on who this is. And finally, one of the last questions in the article, what can the government do about all this? And this was the response. In the long run, as long as this doesn't become a banking crisis, and I haven't seen any indication that that is on the horizon, you would expect to see a rebound in economic activity and asset values once this plays out. So my question to everyone is, what do you think about the current crisis we're in right now? And also, are you staying strong with your current plan right now? I know it can feel extremely uneasy right now. It can feel like the world is ending. It can feel like really bad. But what are you currently doing? If you leave a comment below, you could help out a lot of investors who watch this video. Perhaps we can start a little conversation down below. And also another question is, how long do you expect this to last? So if you leave a comment and answers below as to what you're currently feeling and how you're reacting to this, I believe it will help a lot of people out there. Now, I'm personally also not one to speculate on what's gonna happen because I don't have a crystal ball. And anyone that tells you that they know what's gonna happen, that they know the market's gonna go down another 30% or whatever, nobody knows for sure. No one knows what could happen with this crisis, how bad it could get. It's important to stick to your plan, to remember why you started investing and continue investing in the market. Because I'll be honest with you, this is the time when people start investing or invest and build fortunes. I'm telling you this. And in my personal opinion, I believe that this could blow over relatively quickly within a few weeks or latest around June or in the summer. So that's my guess. Now, I could be totally totally wrong about that, and this could last a lot longer. But of course, over the long run, what I'm gonna do is stay the course, continue investing every month, save a percentage of my income, whatever I got to do to stick to my plan. And also at the end of the day, I want you guys to realize this. If we don't have our health, we have nothing. Money does not matter in the end if we're dead, really, right? Or we have a health problem. So health always comes first. Make sure that you stay inside, take care of yourself, avoid possibly spreading this virus by going to large gatherings or anything like that. This is an important time for people to support and stick together, not kind of, buy up cartons of toilet paper and Lysol wipes and hoard it and sell it for 3 times the value. It's not a good time to be doing that, to look at profits and stuff like that when a global health crisis is currently happening. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is obviously a very difficult video to make because it's scary out there. I'll admit it. It's very scary. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think we can stay positive in the fact that we know that we have a lot of health professionals out there that are going to help the situation and get us back to normal. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Helps out the channel a lot, helps me push this video to people that might really need to see it at this time. I'd really appreciate it. Of course, if you're interested in videos on growing your wealth, becoming smarter about money and work, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on social media. I'll have my links below, so you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And until the next video, guys, stay safe out there and take care.